So earlier this week I made a video that was an update video, but I also recapped a lot of Dragon Ball Z. Because this summer I watched all of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. I know I skipped the original Dragon Ball and that matters to some people. I am not most people. So I did all of that in order to watch Dragon Ball Superhero movie, which seems pretty cool. I thought it was pretty good. What got me into Dragon Ball was watching Broly with my friends for the first time, and I regret not being into Dragon Ball sooner because I wished I could get that theatric experience with Broly. Because I think Broly is one of the few aspects of Dragon Ball, like the only Dragon Ball movie I would give a perfect 5 out of 5. And this movie was shaping up to be really interesting. Piccolo is my favorite character. It's hard to pick a favorite in Dragon Ball, but I think Piccolo is such a good supporting character that I was really interested to see a movie kind of delving into him. And in addition to that, Gohan was always a character that I wasn't too sure on. I thought they never really hit the right groove with Gohan, especially after the Buu saga. So I was interested to see how they were going to kind of revisit him, with making him the primary focus of his own movie. And I was shocked because the movie wasn't really about Piccolo and Gohan. Yes, they were major players, they both got new forms, spoilers, and overall, I would say, yeah, they had the most screen time, but they never really told a story with them. Even though both of them were caring for Pan, Gohan's daughter, they never really focused on that in order to, advance their characters, and I thought that was really interesting. I think the most in terms of character development was Piccolo holding his phone like this whenever he FaceTimes Bulma, and I thought that was pretty funny. But primarily, this movie focused on the Red Ribbon Army, which was always an aspect I was interested in, and kind of makes me want to revisit original Dragon Ball because I missed out on that story arc. But I didn't need to see the original Dragon Ball to understand their importance, because, Android Saga and whatnot. And they really do a good job at, building up this side of the story, how they think they're the heroes, and it's a really engaging kind of narrative they try to pull off, with fun characters being introduced. Charles Martinet does a great job in the role of Magenta. I don't know who voices the Doctor Kid, but he did great. And the new superheroes, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, I thought they were gonna suck, but they both have such interesting personality. Like, Gamma 2 is like a cocky, oh, I'm a superhero, and then Gamma 1 is just like more serious, and they really play off the main characters, they play off each other shockingly well. And they do a really funny gag with Gamma 2 that I don't want to spoil in this video, but it made me chortle in the theaters. That said, I think this movie is really close to being a 5 out of 5. The entire experience was cinematic, and it felt grand. I think 3D, even though it got flack from the community, was the best way they could have done this movie, because the way they can move the camera around and make it feel grand. Like, when you first enter the Red Ribbon Army's new base, you're like, God damn! And I thought that was pretty cool. I think the one thing holding this movie back was shockingly that it was a Dragon Ball movie, and Dragon Ball does a lot of things consistently. So I'm going to kind of get into some nitpicks that I don't really mind. In fact, I like some of my nitpicks. But one major issue that held the movie back. So, like I said, everybody gets new forms. When I went into this movie, I kind of predicted that Piccolo... I knew every spoiler going into it, because what is Dragon Ball if you don't know the spoilers? Because you cannot watch the show and not know something. So I knew that they both got new forms, and I saw Orange Piccolo, and I was talking with my friend about it, and my guess was that Piccolo fused with the Dragon Balls. I didn't want it to just be Piccolo powers up and turns a different color, because that would really not mesh with the Namekians. In the Universe Survival arc, I really liked what they did with the Universe 6 Namekians, and how their super forms were just them fusing with their entire race in order to save the universe. So I was trying to think of ways that Piccolo could do something adjacent to that while not quite ripping them off. And I think my initial reaction was to have him fuse with the Dragon Balls. A, because the Dragon Balls are orange, and B, because That's the other thing Namekians can do, control the Dragon Balls. And I was kind of right. It wasn't so much fusion as it was he just wished for a power-up, which is, on paper, not that strong of a choice, but it makes the most narrative sense with Piccolo. And I really like that it kind of reaffirms his connection with them. I think I loved most of all his transformation into, I don't know what the form's called, but like true Orange Piccolo. When I was about to call the dragon Roshi, Shenron. When Shenron said, "I gave you everything you have plus a little extra," and it was I think the best transformation in the entire movie. Then following that, Gohan gets his new transformation. A lot of people seem to have problems with this. I don't mind it. Gohan has never really had a clean-cut transformation. I'd say Gohan's transformations have always kind of teetered around something that makes sense. Like, sometimes an old man does a funny little dance next to him. Sometimes he gets mad and he powers up. Sometimes an old man touches his forehead and then he unlocks his potential. Gohan's entire character has always been, he has a lot of potential, and that's why I was never too sure about him. But I think this movie did a fine job. It was kind of like his new transformation, I don't know if the official name, I call it Beast Gohan, is kind of a combination of Super Saiyan 2, which was his best transformation, and what he already had with Ultimate Gohan. That's the way I see it, at least. I thought it was either going to be in relation to his potential or through the Kai, but I'm glad they didn't bring the Kai into this movie, because this movie was shockingly very crowded in terms of characters. I really liked what they did, and I'm not sure what I would say in terms of how I feel about the transformation. I thought it was great. Another major spoiler. Like, seriously, this is a spoiler you shouldn't know, but one of my other hopes for this movie was that Gohan would do the special beam cannon, because, you know, he has a very important relationship with Piccolo, and a relationship that I care immensely about, and I thought that would be the perfect bookend to it, especially if they got a movie, and they did it, and it was beautiful. His entire transformation sequence is beautiful. I think it looks great, and when, like, there's no music throughout the entire transformation, it's just like this eerie atmosphere. Again, the entire movie is very cinematic, and it was beautiful just seeing him pull off the special beam cannon to defeat Max Cell. That's my major complaint, and before I get into that, I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there was anything else I wanted to talk about, because this is what holds the movie to being a 4 out of 5. Cell did not need to be in this movie. I understand why it's Cell. It's Cell. You gotta get access in theaters, but I'm also mad because they tease it in, like, the trailers and stuff like that, and they really shouldn't have if you wanted to go for shock value. But alas, that was not the case, and I really disliked that. So I'd say what I think in terms of Max Cell is that it was a gimmick, and he did not need to be there. I'm sorry if I'm treading, I'm just trying to find the right words. Why bring Cell back if he's not going to be a bad bitch? That's what made Cell a bad bitch. The way he would taunt his enemies in the Cell saga was just incredible. And even though he can't talk, I understand why he can't talk. You already brought in, you know, Gotenks, Android 18, Krillin, you brought them all into the finale. You can't have another new villain showing up at the very last minute taunting the main characters that he's never met before. But even then, it wasn't Cell, because he wasn't regenerating, he wasn't copying other people's abilities, he wasn't absorbing things, he had a weak point introduced on his head. It was basically just a Godzilla. After we got out of the movie theater, my friend kind of thought that a corrupted Android 16 would have worked just as well, if not better, and I kind of agree. It really felt cheap to bring back Cell in this sort of way, especially when he could be replaced by virtually anything because it wasn't Cell. The whole thing felt really cheap to me, especially when you really couldn't get a gauge on him. The only thing he did that was like Cell was self-detonate, but in Dragon Ball Z, that would have taken out the entire planet, but this time around it just leaves a big old crater. I think the only thing that really worked for Cell in this movie was the fact that, you know, when he first emerges and crawls out, and Magenta, like, after Magenta dies, that is a really well done scene, well executed, and everybody on the surface is none the wiser. It's a big kind of final act villain, and I don't blame the movie for doing it, but I'm just a little disappointed. Overall, I think it was a fantastic movie, and I do plan on seeing it again. Just phenomenal. I'm really glad I watched Dragon Ball in order to get appreciation for this, because while Broly was a movie that kind of anyone can enjoy, I never saw Dragon Ball, but I knew who these characters were, and then going into Broly for the first time as my jumping in point, I loved it, because it's a big, long fight scene. This movie is very dependent on you knowing who these characters are, knowing their story, because it serves for the fans, not for the general audience, and I can appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's all my thoughts. I'd say it's a solid 4 out of 5, maybe 5 out of 5. I really gotta see how I feel about Max Cell. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think in the comments. I never say that, but please let me know what you think in the comments. Oh, and what the fuck was going on with Gotenks? Like, alright, I get it. You missed the fusion because you don't want to steal the thunder. But at the very end, they do the fusion, and they cut away? I want to see grown-up Gotenks! And also, Vegeta won! Good for him!